Hi, it's Ellie Boulder, and it's story time. This is called Farts, A Spotter's Guide by Crai S. Bauer, and illustrations are by Travis Millard. This is a cool book I found at Target. It talks about all the different kinds of farts, and there's a button menu where you can press to hear each kind of fart. No doubt, with all those grapes, Aristotle, the world's first naturalist, passed gas. And Linnaeus must have eaten too much Solanum melangina, aka eggplant, while working through some late-night taxonomical riddle, only to spend the following morning tooting in Latin. And of course, with Captain Fitzroy's cooking on the HMS Beagle, Darwin surely broke wind like a maritime gale while chasing his finches around the Galapagos. And yet, there is no evidence that these scions of natural history ever considered researching a dichotomous key separating the flight of the burdock bees from the sleeping dog. Not a single scientist, not Edward O. Wilson, and not even the late Stephen Jay Gould, longtime columnist for Natural History magazine, ever realized that the lay population craved a methodology to distinguish the boom of the seismic blast from the hiss, disputed, of the silent but deadly. As a student of each of the above-mentioned scientists, I am honored to present the research that eluded their own laboratories. I cannot explain why Darwin chose to study beetles over barking spiders, Wilson studies ants instead of anal emissions, or Gould preferred paleontology to poots, but I am proud to declare that with Farts, A Spotter's Guide, the natural history canon is finally complete. Number 1, the seismic blast. Stinky Toopsie Blowdoor's office. Field marks, unmistakable, as emitter typically calls his shot before launch. Mimicking sounds among flock, also a telltale sign. Voice, the louder, the wetter, the better. Habitat, mostly all male environments, especially hungover situations. Range, usually requires Richter scale for accurate assessment. Description, recently declared an alternative to ethanol, this green steam creates tremendous force through the narrow orifice. Producers routinely cite this energy conversion among their proudest achievements, regularly found during drinking competitions and over-carb-laden breakfasts. Usually appears in flocks. The blast not only lasts during the lingering aura, but also in the future tales of witnesses. Number 2, the silent but deadly. Odoriferous non culpabilis. There's these like faux Latin names underneath. I don't think I want to pronounce any more of the rest. Field marks. Shifting in seat. Furtive eye contact. Muffled giggle. Voice. Silent or possible faint hiss. Habitat, classroom, especially preschool, public spaces, especially mass transit, vicinity of grandparents. Range, entire city bus. Description, it is the most elusive emission, yet the silent but deadly rarely passes unnoticed. Considered non-vocal for centuries, recent studies suggest a faint hiss, rarely detected above waist level. The SBD is most often identified by juvenile observers, adults for as of yet inconclusive reasons traditionally acknowledge the SBD with visual cues, i.e. silently. Number 3, blowing smoke. Field marks. Bending bows and flaring nostrils indicate presence. Rare, 1956 appearance near propane rumored but never recorded due to scientists' fatality. Voice, song longer than all other species except the long goodbye, disputed. Habitat, meadows, amphitheaters. Range, southern United States, East Bloc countries, Buffalo, New York. Description. The very definition of breaking wind. This long, quiet gust is like a factory smokestack on a cold day, and it has been known to extinguish matches. Closely related to the poof and also the long goodbye, this species can pollute outdoor events, including concerts in the park. Long thought a remnant of smokestacks and burning rubber, this meat-eater's special carries a half-baked odor that is distinct to the specimen. Number 4, the one that got away. Field marks. Shock followed by horror in provider's facial expression. Voice varies greatly from motor revving to barely audible. Habitat. Quiet environments including libraries, churches, especially weddings and funerals, and holiday dinners. Range. Unpredictable, might carry just one pew over, or could fill a cathedral. Description. Brightly discolored and relatively easy to identify, this species' release, often accompanied by a telltale shriek, shocks the issuer as much as it does the unfortunate audience. Unpredictable in flight, individuals take many forms. Observers of this emission always have a story to tell, whereas the supplier remains predictably mute. Number 5, the flight of the buttock bees. Field marks. Tight, tight, and tighter. This individual ekes out into the world with the fastidiousness of a wound clock. Voice. Shrill staccato sound suggesting air horn pressure. Habitat. Anywhere objects are stored or stacked in well-ordered environments and schedules are kept. Range. From icy situations to purse-lipped environments. Description. This is gas at its most organized. The sounds and scents emanating from its host are punctuated, and punctilious. Punctilious. Okay, punctilious. I don't know what that means. I'll have to look it up. Plus, these emissions can't be learned. They seem hardwired to release precisely when directed to do so. These bossy chirps are more blips than blowouts and always appear in flocks. Number 6, the poof. Field marks. Often distinguished by the pastel colors and laissez-faire attitude, this species was first identified taking flight from a pair of Abercrombie & Fitch watermelon chinos. Voice. Delicate song most resembles a wispy poof. Habitat. Yacht clubs, supper clubs, country clubs, bridge clubs. Range. Varies by tax bracket. Rarely found on common ground. Description. Long thought to be a mythical creature, this rarefied air is easily identified from its curiosity saccharine smell to the refusal of many genteel observers to acknowledge its presence. This melange of perfume with the rotten truth elicits whispers but never comments. Most commonly observed among populations who declare their poop don't stink. And it doesn't. Well, sort of. Seven, in between states. Field marks. Confused and concerned facial expression of host. Scent always lingers longer than the supplier. Voice varies, often sounding like a plop of liquid similar to ketchup squirting from a bottle. Habitat, briefs, boxers, and rarely panties that will never be worn again. Range, rarely below the leg cuffs. Description. Conspicuous due to the sudden absence of the supplier, this species drives its host from dinner party or den. Often associated with illness or alcohol, individuals may occupy a gas, solid, or liquid state, or mixture thereof, and are unique in the flatulent family. Also unusual, the host's face, suggesting utter consternation, is the best field mark if you are observant enough to catch the look before the flight. Number 8, the sleeping dog. Field marks. Only emitted near an observer who appears too exhausted to document the species' presence. Voice. Reports of a muffled hiss, but voice largely unknown. Habitat. Exclusively found beneath bedsheets, duvets, and even quilts. Range from headboard to footboard. Description. Often misidentified as a yoga position, this aura surrounds the slumberous, causing white light to emanate from the 9th chakra, aka the 4th eye. Only species thought to arise from both human and canine hosts. Presence once thought to have amphetamine properties, as adjacent subjects rarely manage sleep. Number 9, the long goodbye. Field marks. Species usually detected before host is observed. Host's obvious physical unease is also a telltale sign of species' impending presence, as well as post-release deflation of pelvic area. Voice. Among the most musical of species, the emission can sing for what seems like hours, especially to the relieved supplier. Habitat. Changes, often fleeing a public environment to a very private refuge. Range. Waiting rooms to waiting pools, Mexican to Indian restaurants. Description. Elusive and secretive individuals of this unusual species appear most often in public places after having been confined in lengthy social situations. Disturbed by the extended length and strength characteristic of this emission, the provider typically wrestles with this gas for up to an hour until finally this scent must fly the coop. Keen observers can anticipate the long goodbye from key signs, including the repeated crossing and uncrossing of legs, an inability to sit still, and a painful grimace that, post-event, tends to transform into a satisfied smile, if not a nap. Wow. Number 10, the aftershock. Field marks. Rare species distinguished by alliance with others, surprisingly overt in appearance. Voice varies, can be quite loud, appears to come out of nowhere. Habitat. Commonly found in the company of other, more predictable species. Range. Worldwide erratic migrant. Description. Once thought physically impossible, the aftershock remains one of the most unusual emissions. Always a surprise visitor, this eruptive species travels exclusively in flocks, usually among larger species. Individuals only become conspicuous when dominant flock grows silent or departs habitat altogether. Host usually appears calm and confident, followed by gasps of disbelief shortly thereafter. About the author, Crai S. Bauer. He has spent plenty of time studying Flautus and his lab assistants, 5-year-old Malcolm and 8-year-old Aiden. When not conducting research, Crai writes about travel, business, the arts, and numerous other topics for more than 30 magazines and newspapers annually, and discusses travel trends on NPR affiliate KUOW. He received a 2008 Northern Lights Award for excellence in Canadian travel journalism. Prior to his writing career, he taught natural history, among other subjects, for 12 years. Though an occasional class was interrupted by unintended sounds, smells, and the embarrassed giggles that followed, this is in fact his first humorous manuscript detailing the natural history of the fart. Travis Millard, the illustrator, runs the Fudge Factory comics operation in Los Angeles. Prior to this book, Travis had never actually farted and took on the project as a greater personal learning experience. Attempting to better understand the subject, he employed the method drawing technique and fully submerged himself in the rich tapestry of neighborhood taco trucks. The end. I hope you learned something here today. I'm Ellie Boulder. Thank you.